Malik Harris sat down, fastening his seatbelt before the boarding line had cleared. Then came the shadow. A heavy arm slammed into his seatback. "Move. You don't belong here." He looked up. She looked down. Her stance blocked the aisle, chest forward, chin raised. Malik's bag was still at his feet, he'd followed every boarding rule. She broke them all. Heads turned as her voice grew louder. "That's not your seat, that's ours." The sting wasn't in the words, it was in the certainty behind them. Malik's fingers touched the buckle, then stilled. His eyes met hers, steady. She shifted closer, as if her size alone could push him out. 2 rows back, a phone camera glinted. The flight attendant froze mid-step, deciding if she should intervene. Malik didn't blink. She didn't move. And the whole cabin waited for what would come next. Her fingers shot toward the back row, nails clicking against the headrest like a gavel. "Over there's where you fit." Malik didn't budge. The aisle seemed to tighten, her frame casting a wall of flesh and polyester between him and the rest of the plane. The flight attendant approached, her smile polite but eyes cool, like she was already convinced who the problem was. "Sir, perhaps we can find you another seat," she offered, glancing toward the back as if the decision was made. In row 14, a teenager steadied his phone, zooming in. A low murmur rolled down the cabin, whispers, coughs, the rustle of people leaning closer. "Don't make this harder than it has to be," the woman pressed, folding her arms in victory. Malik's thumb tapped the armrest once, then stopped. The captain's chime pinged overhead, a cheerful note that didn't match the air. They thought this was over. It was only beginning. The attendant shifted her weight, clearly expecting Malik to stand. "We need to keep the aisle clear," she said, "the emphasis on you." A businessman across the way smirked into his magazine. Malik's gaze drifted past them, taking in the rows of faces, some curious, some eager, none willing to step in. He could feel the heat rising in his chest, not from shame, but from the memory of countless other times he'd been told to step aside. The woman leaned down until her breath touched his cheek. "First class isn't for charity cases," she whispered, though loud enough for the phones to catch. A ripple of laughter came from somewhere behind. Malik sat forward just enough to force her to move half an inch, his voice low and measured. "You don't want to finish that sentence." The attendant's hand hovered inches from Malik's armrest. "Sir, please." Her tone had shifted, less request, more command. Overhead, the cabin lights flickered as the door closed. Somewhere in the cockpit, the engines began their slow whine. Malik straightened, the seatbelt snug against his waist. He was staying put. From the corner of his eye, he saw the curtain to the cockpit rustle. A tall figure in a crisp uniform emerged, eyes scanning the cabin. The captain's stride was deliberate, the kind that made people sit back without thinking. He stopped beside Malik's row, gaze falling to the gold crest on Malik's ring. The captain looked up sharply at the attendant, then at the woman still blocking the aisle. "Is there a problem here?" His voice was calm, but it carried. Passengers sat up straighter, the hum of the air system suddenly louder in the hush. The woman scoffed. "Just getting him to where he belongs." The captain's eyes narrowed. "He's already there." And in that moment, the air in the cabin shifted. The captain's words hung in the air, heavy as the pause that followed. The attendant blinked, her lips parting but no sound coming out. The woman, Hoa, shifted her stance, her confidence faltering just enough for Malik to notice. He unfastened his belt with a single click, the sound sharp in the quiet cabin. "Ma'am," the captain said, his voice flattening, "you're speaking to the owner of this aircraft's parent company." Gasps burst from nearby seats, and the teenager's phone tilted for a better shot. Hoa's eyes darted from Malik's face to the captain, searching for a tell. Malik reached into his jacket, pulling out a black card embossed with the same crest as his ring. He didn't hand it to her, he placed it in the captain's palm, letting her watch the man read it. The captain turned it toward the attendant. "Board chair," he confirmed, each syllable deliberate. The color drained from her cheeks. "I didn't know," she stammered. "That's the problem," Malik replied, voice even but edged with steel. Around them, the rows were silent, every passenger holding their breath. The captain took a step closer to Hoa. "Do you want to finish this flight in your seat, or somewhere less comfortable?" Her head shook quickly, but Malik raised a hand. "No. Let her sit. But she'll remember this moment." His gaze never wavered from hers, not even when the captain returned the card. The attendant backed away without a word, retreating to the galley. Passengers exchanged glances, a mix of embarrassment and awe. Malik refastened his belt, leaning back as if reclaiming more than just the seat. For the first time since boarding, the aisle was clear. The captain lingered for a beat, his presence alone keeping the row still. Hoa sank into her seat without another word, staring straight ahead. The teenager in row 14 lowered his phone, as if suddenly aware the video had captured more than he'd expected. Malik adjusted his cuff, the gold crest on his ring catching a sliver of overhead light. The attendant passed again, this time without making eye contact, her steps quick toward the rear of the cabin. A few passengers shifted in their seats, some glancing at Malik with a look that hovered between apology and unease. The hum of the engines deepened as the plane began to taxi. The captain, already halfway to the cockpit, paused and turned back. "If you'd like her removed, it can be arranged," he offered quietly. Malik shook his head. "No. She needs to finish this flight." His tone wasn't about mercy, it was about making the lesson last. When the captain disappeared behind the curtain, the air in the cabin seemed lighter, though no one dared break the silence. Malik closed his eyes for a moment, not to rest, but to mark the shift. The balance had changed. And the woman beside him knew it. The rest of the flight passed without another glance from her. When the wheels touched down, Malik waited for the cabin to empty before standing. Outside the terminal, he walked straight to a meeting room in the airline's headquarters, his signature already inked on an expanded training initiative, mandatory for every crew member and passenger service lead. 3 weeks later, in a quiet conference center, Hoa sat among a group of attendees. The banner read, "Equity in the Air." She avoided the instructor's gaze, her fingers twisting the lanyard at her neck. Clips of in-flight incidents played on the screen, some uncomfortably familiar. Malik's name was never mentioned, but his presence was in every slide, every policy change, every nod from the airline's leadership. She wasn't escorted out, shamed, or fined. Instead, she was required to listen, to see herself in the moments replayed. Malik had chosen a consequence that would linger far longer than a public scene. Back in his office, Malik looked over the city skyline, the hum of traffic below faint through the glass. Some victories didn't need applause, they just needed to change what happened next time. And this one would. Sometimes the most powerful response isn't the loudest, but the one that changes what comes after. Walking away with your integrity intact can leave a deeper mark than any public retaliation. Stand firm in your place, even when others try to push you out, and use your influence to shape a better path for those who come next. If this story moved you, share your thoughts below and subscribe for more stories that remind us why respect and justice matter.